or farewell to Manny Pacquiao. We won't be getting that final Pacquiao-Floyd Mayweather fight. But kudos to him, and hopefully all of his politics in the Philippines continue to run the course for him. A great guy, though. And after that last fight, that was, we've been into this realm of boxing now that's more of an entertainment type boxing. And when he got in the ring for the last time, yeah, it was somewhat of an entertainment bout, but it was an entertaining bout, and they were actually fighting.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a huge celebrity over in the Philippines, and he serves in their government. I think he's a senator in their government. And
wow, so just like Brad Law.
Yeah, and so it's for him. He was always an amazing fighter, fastest hands that I've seen from a fighter, and so now he's made a decision to step down and move on.
And some big news for women's basketball in the NCAA. They are now allowed to use March Madness to help market Division I basketball in the women's side of things. This is huge for them, especially after the slights that they kind of had in the last tournament, dealing with the gym and all of that good stuff. And it's also going to help them with a new budget format that's been implemented for the men and the women's basketball tournament. So good for NCAA women's basketball here and being allowed to use March Madness.
This will be the first time that you'll ever hear me defend the NCAA. But last year was a unique year, and I understand there were some mistakes made with equipment and getting the right gear in. And it's like the ladies got get left out, if you will. Of course, again, last year was a really, really just different kind of year for all of us in sports. But I've always looked as March Madness is college basketball, whether it's men or women, and they all really just kind of run together, because I think the men's tournament is on a Monday, the national championship is on a Monday night, and the women's is the following night on a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So, kudos to the NCAA for doing that, but I've always looked at March Madness, the women and the men's tournament. It's all madness.
Yeah, it is all madness.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And you get some of those big-time games on the women's side of things and on the men's side of things. But this is good, and it helps. I feel like it's good for the NCAA to do something, anyway. Right? Just
something
like the same way with the College World Series and what they're doing for softball there as well. Georgia fans, quarterback JT Daniels, who's dealing with a lat injury ahead of this big-time matchup with the Arkansas Razorbacks, who are proven a lot of people wrong in a sense, especially, Sam Pittman and the job that he did last year, and then they come into this year and they've got one of the hardest schedules in the SEC, especially in the SEC West there, and they're playing some really good football right now. Georgia, who looked really good against Vanderbilt, but in that game against Clemson really couldn't get the ball moving, and their only touchdown was a defensive touchdown. So this is going to be an interesting matchup between Arkansas and Georgia, and they hope
there's Georgia's out right there.
Have JT
There's
Daniels.
Georgia's out. I'm circling it right here. Their excuse is going to be, our quarterback was having some issues, and that's what cost us the game. And if that doesn't work, then they will go ahead and go for the officials made some bad calls. Which is it, old school?
It's not going to matter.
It's not going to matter?
We'll see.
I think this is going to be a phenomenal game.
I do, too.
I think Arkansas is going to give them all that they want, but they are just so deep. Maybe the least amount of depth that they have is at the quarterback position, but JT Daniels, he's been struggling with an injury all year. It's not the first time that he's played injured, and I'm sure that they'll give him whatever treatment that they can to ease as much pain as possible, but he'll get through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chicago Bears are moving closer to leaving Soldier Field. They signed a purchase agreement for Arlington Park property. They announced this today, a $197.2 million purchase and sale agreement with Churchill Downs Incorporated for the 326-acre Arlington Park property in suburban Arlington Heights.
Wasn't Max talking about this a couple of weeks ago, where they were like the Bears were getting fed up and wanted a nicer place, and it looks like they heard the call.
It's just one of those things. It's like the Red Sox leaving Fenway or something like that. There's so much history tied up into that stadium. For a lot of us people who've been watching sports for a while, it's going to be weird seeing the Chicago Bears playing in another facility.
But that's kind of the norm, though, these days, especially with NFL teams. You look at Atlanta as the example of they had a nice stadium, the Georgia Dome, and then they went and spent all this millions of dollars, the city of Atlanta did, to build the new Mercedes-Benz Dome. There was nothing wrong with the Georgia Dome.
Yeah, but it was 10 or 12, 15 years old at that point. They did not have the luxury suites the way that they wanted it. The city could put a couple of million in, and Arthur Blank put the other $1.9 billion in. So, yeah. And he also is redeveloping the whole area around the stadium. He's spending even more money. So, yes, I understand what the Bears are looking for because it's one of the smallest capacities.
Yeah.
It's Soldier Field is, and it's old. At this point, it's probably one of the oldest stadiums in the league. So, and this is a hard thing for me to say, but as an old guy, but sometimes change just got to come.
Change can be a good thing, can it?
Sounds like it's coming, too.
Do people change? Let's listen to Wilbon and what he said about Lane Kiffin.
The answer is Alabama because of Lane Kiffin. There's nothing to be proud of if you're a college footballer or any other sport but Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's a clown. Lane Kiffin has been an embarrassment at multiple stops. I mean, nobody's going to run out there and say, yeah, I want Lane Kiffin right here on the logo representing me. The answer is Alabama, Tony. Lane Kiffin's a cute little story for guys like us who have to talk about sports every day, and we can come in Monday and say, ha, 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 Lane Kiffin. Once again, Lane Kiffin equals embarrassment at some point wherever he is.
Ooh,
God bless.
Words there from Wilbon. What do you guys take away from this?
I don't know. I just don't. I'm impressed with Lane Kiffin. I never was a fan a long time ago, but I think he was stuck into some places that he really didn't have any business in as a head coach, going to the Raiders, and then he went to Tennessee and all these places as head coach when he wasn't prepared to be a head coach.
Right.
And so I think with him going to FIU and then him spending those years with Saban in Alabama, I think he's learned a lot. He was always had a football and coaching pedigree.
Right.
But I just think that being a head coach, requires a lot more. And he's got Ole Miss humming. I mean, he's got the potential Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. Now is just not the time to, you can't look at the past. The past is the past, he went through some jobs. He got fired at jobs. But the thing about it is, you got to look at what the guy's doing now, he has fun. Why do you have to be so serious all the time? The guy's, tell me you have not laughed at any of his jokes and all the Twitter
tweets,
all the tweets and all that.
He's gold when it comes to Twitter.
I'm just telling you. But you know what? If he wins football games and he's having a little fun in the meantime, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I guess Wilborn has never failed at anything in his life.
He's Mr. Perfect.
He's been perfect his whole life. He's never had any kind of failure. He's never had a failure in a family, or he's never had a failure at a job. He's never effed up in any way, Because Kiffin, okay, I agree with you totally. He was ill-prepared to be a head coach.
Right.
But
he got the job basically off of his dad.
Sure, but are you going to turn down that job? If you're 29 years old
no,
and an NFL team calls you up and says, we want you to come be our head coach or whatever, are you going to turn that? I'm not going to turn down that job. Nobody would. Nobody would.
No.
So to blame him because he was ill-prepared, that's not his fault.
Right? No.
But what's impressive is that he went somewhere. He went to the rehab center for coaches at University of Alabama.
That's right.
And he learned how to be a head coach. He learned from the best on how to be a head coach.
Well, if anybody's to blame, and I even hate to say this, it's the ownership of Oakland. just because Al Davis just wanted to, have the youngest head coach in the NFL. Al Davis just did some, I hate to say anything bad about a guy who's no longer with us, but Al Davis was a quirky owner.
Yeah, he was an outlaw from the beginning. He always liked to do things that were, but I think Lane Kiffin has grown up, he's matured, and he's become a good head coach. And Ole Miss didn't have any problem whatsoever reaching out to him.
No, absolutely not. That was a good get for them, and I think especially since he did he learned how to be a head coach at FIU and in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, you're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Keep it locked in right here with the Afternoon Underdogs coming up. Alan Watson this Friday. Instead of Coach James Hale, you're going to be hearing Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Max. We're going to be right back. Stick with us.
My forecast overnight, a small chance of a shower or thunderstorm, partly cloudy skies, light winds from the southwest, and the overnight temperature 63 to 69, water temperature in the Gulf 82. Well, Thursday and Friday we'll have isolated showers and thunderstorms. For the most part, it will stay dry Thursday and Friday, partly to mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s, and it looks like more of the same for the upcoming weekend, just spotty, isolated showers and thunderstorms. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your chance to win cold hard cash. It's the Grand Slam of Cash.
$1,000 in cash. Wow.
2 ways to win this national contest. Listen weekdays at 8:45, 12:45, and 4:45 for a new code word. When you hear it, enter the code word at ESPNPC.com or use the new ESPN Northwest Florida app to play. The Grand Slam of Cash.
Have you ever thought about flying an airplane? It's not as difficult as you may think. Simply call Island Air Express. They are a family-oriented flight school who cares about the student pilot progression and more of a one-on-one flight training school. Island Air Express can help you celebrate your birthday by taking you on a birthday flight. Let Island Air Express show you the world from a different view by taking you and your family across beautiful Panama City Beach. Call Island Air Express at 850-814-6407 or visit their website at islandairexpress.com.
Hi, this is Coach James Hale, here to tell you about the best car wash on the beach. Blue Sky Express Car Wash. Number one, they're locally owned. You know Matt and his employees will do a great job. Number two, Blue Sky Car Wash recycles their water. Number three, they have the latest technology available. It does an incredible job on your vehicle. Blue Sky Express Car Wash on Back Beach Road is right near Home Depot. Tell them Coach Hale sent you.
Small business owners of Bay County, are you aware of the recent changes in the credit card industry that could affect how much you pay for credit card processing? With over 30 years experience right here in Bay County, Merchant Management Group is ready to help your business take advantage of these changes and in some cases eliminate all fees for accepting credit card. Other businesses have already made the change. Call Merchant Management Group today to schedule a no obligation appointment. 850-747-0664.
They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live in the Slim Chicken studio.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, you're right here with the 104.3. With the 104.3. You're listening to 104.3, and we are the Afternoon Underdogs, and we are blessed to be in the presence of Alan Watson right now, the owner of Golf Plus. Alan, what is going on?
Hey, David. Not too much. Just, found my way over to this side of town again.
Thank you.
And I know.
Did you ride the motorcycle today?
I did not ride the motorcycle,
Okay.
but it's beautiful for it. I'm in what I refer to as the Golf Plus mobile because of the wrap on it. So just, enjoying, being able to get out and get over here and hang out with you guys and talk about sports and twits and all kinds of things.
So what did you think of that dominating performance in the Ryder Cup by Team USA?
Yeah, I mean, it really was dominating. And when you say a word like that, sometimes in sports it's really not dominating, and we kind of joke about it. And there were moments when it looked like it might kind of swing back, but they got off to an early lead. That's what you want to do, I guess, in any sporting event. Got off to a good lead. Second day, kind of just managed that, and then Sunday really just blew them out of the water. And they were superior on paper, so that was what was supposed to happen, but you had some things like DJ going 5-0. You don't expect that. You had Scheffler beating world number one John Rahm straight up. You don't necessarily expect that, although in match play anything can happen. I thought that the big takeaway for me was the camaraderie, which generally leans to the European side. It felt like they actually had it this year with the Americans, even with the whole Brooks and Bryson thing. It definitely felt like this was a unified team, and a lot of people are saying that's because of the youth of the team and how these guys have kind of grown up together and played together. I saw a little bit of JT bashing going on early, like, oh, pull him and put somebody else in there. I mean, the guy's been unbelievable for the last few years. He's won a lot of tournaments. It's hard to say just because somebody has one bad session that you got to replace him. At the same time, even if you did, plenty of great players sitting right there. So I was overall very impressed.
So what letter grade would you give the USA team?
I think you have to give them an A+. I mean, come on. I mean, they didn't just win. They won in big fashion. A lot of times when this Ryder Cup thing, if you're not a big fan of the Ryder Cup or if you're not a big golf fan, if you haven't seen it before, a lot of times this thing comes down to sudden death overtime, if you want to use that type of terminology. A lot of times somebody sort of creeps across the finish line to win. This was almost like a foregone conclusion early on Sunday that they were going to win. So, I thought, for sure. And I thought the Europeans handled it well. They didn't look like a team that was getting shellacked. They were hanging in there, fighting hard. Poulter was playing great, making all the putts like he always does. They just didn't have enough firepower and enough star power. The Americans were just, they were firing on all cylinders. So, looked good.
Is this somewhat of a statement for the future of United States golf?
I mean, I hope so, because there's sort of this, what's the right way to say this? There's the PGA Tour. So many people think of it as an American sort of sporting, but just like the world of tennis and some other sports, there's always going to be a lot of worldwide, participation, and that's great. That's what it needs to be, but this could definitely signal something where you go, okay, now we've got something here. We're going to watch these young guns mature. We're going to watch these great players who could continue. Because if you look at the European team, guys like Poulter, who've played well for years, guys like Rory, who's been on several teams, Lee Westwood, who's been on a million Ryder Cup teams, Sergio, who's won the most matches of anybody in Ryder Cup history, and he's not even really old. That you still kind of stagger that against Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, Harris English, young versus a little bit older. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, then the odds are in the Americans' favor as the Europeans sort of age, and unless they can find some superstars. I mean, they got some young guys, Victor Hovland and guys like that, Matthew Fitzpatrick, but it just, I think they were outgunned. I just really do.
Yeah, they were outgunned, and I think the Americans came in with a different attitude. Mm-hmm. I think they were tired of getting beat. Mm-hmm. And this young crew of guys were like, it's time to flip it, and we're going in with a different attitude, and they did, and I loved it. I do have to say that I thought the Europeans handled the thumping that they took with extreme class.
Absolutely.
You didn't see any of the older guys calling out the captain and saying that they got a problem in their organization or anything. They just gave the credit to the Americans for playing very well. And they said, we look forward to having them on our soil in a couple of years, and we think we'll be able to compete and win it back. That's the way that you should handle that loss. And I thought they handled it very well. I loved the way Bryson's PR tour over those 3 days there at the Ryder Cup, because, he was playing to the crowd constantly,
yeah,
and it worked. And now he's in the long drive championship. And I wanted to ask you, as a fitter,
yeah,
You got a guy like Bryson, big, strong, a guy that really creates club head speed. When he goes from playing on a tour where it's about control and accuracy to going to an event where it's about, one ball in the grid, do you think he made many changes to his club setup for his driver or not?
I don't know that he made a lot of changes because he's always working on the range and getting ready for that. He's been kind of leading up to this anyway, and he's been working on lower lofted drivers and longer shafts and all that. He's been anchoring or sort of angling his gear and his preparation towards that anyway. But on a normal person, if a normal person who plays golf all of a sudden just sort of got a wild hair that they wanted to get into long drive, then yeah, absolutely, we would have to fit them for all new equipment because that's going to be a much more violent swing. It's going to be a much more explosive swing, less control in terms of, yes, you've got to be in control enough to hit the grid, like you said, but at the same time, if you don't hit it long, then the grid won't matter.
Grid doesn't matter.
So, 437 in the woods, 378 could win it if it's in the grid. So but whatever, you've got to deal with that. I used to build a lot of drivers for long drive guys when I was in Dothan because we had several guys in that area that competed nationally. And so it's a different piece of equipment. So, yes, you've still got a head, a shaft, and a grip. But it is different, and those guys break a lot of faces.
Break a face.
I was going to say there was a guy that I taught for a while that he ended up winning the whole thing in Mesquite 4 or 5 years ago, and he wasn't tall. He was a very muscular, athletic guy, and he just created enormous speed, and he caved in faces right and left.
Yeah, I would reshaft for one gentleman, Andrew Williams, that practices there out of Enterprise. I would reshaft 2 and 3 and sometimes even 4 drivers at a time for him just because he knew he was going to, break stuff. But where you think the shaft would be the part that would break because of the swing speed and everything, the shafts usually last for a while because they're usually triple X, full X. These things are crazy stiff. But it's the faces that eventually cave because they're trying to make them so thin to have the responsiveness and to bend and all that. And so,
and they're not hitting Pro V1 tour balls.
No.
They're hitting range balls.
Yeah, they're hitting
solid core.
2-piece, rocket balls is basically what they're hitting. These things are just designed to go. So, But as far as, back to kind of your original thought there about Bryson, I don't think he had to do too much because I really think he spends part of his practice time, working towards that. I think that's just part of his preparation. And then you saw that like at the Ryder Cup when he hits that 417 drive off to the, to the wrong fairway, across the wrong fairway to the correct fairway
right.
and takes an angle that's just, completely wrong. But and then when on Sunday when he tried it, it didn't work out, and he ended up in the rough. But just to even see that line, and you would have had to prepare for that, and to know that you can carry it that far. The rest of the guys aren't even going to fool with something like that. So good on him for making the game a little more exciting.
But I hope that Bryson does well. I think he can make it to the finals. It's going to be a challenge for him. I don't think he can win, but it's just really cool to see a guy that you watch on Sunday playing in the Ryder Cup, and then on Tuesday he's there in the long drive competition, and he's doing okay.
Yeah, and good for those guys too, because they're going to get more press because of it. They're going to get more attention to their sport, and so good for them. This is sort of Michael Jordan showing up at your pickup basketball game, right? And all of a sudden, the local news crew is like wanting to get a little video footage. So I think it'll be great for the sport. Because long drive is, it's an interesting sort of side note to golf, and it's not, it doesn't have as much diversity, right? It's a one-trick pony, but it's a pretty cool trick.
It's a very cool trick, because there's an old saying in golf, chicks dig the long ball.
Yeah, that's right. And some of those chicks can hit the long ball.
They can.
If you've ever seen Troy McMullins and those girls, man, they're amazing.
They can hit it it's amazing how far the women hit it today, too.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Hey, Alan, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, joining us here on the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got a big weekend coming up for you, but you need to get ready for it. You need to get out of Blue Sky Car Wash, get that car cleaned off, and have it sparkling brand new. We'll be right back with you here in about 2 minutes.
ESPN ESPN Northwest Florida.
Sailing way back towards the seats, and that is gone.
Tonight, don't miss a minute of Braves baseball from Chase Field in Phoenix as the Braves look for a National League win against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Braves radio goes on the air at 7:25 Central.
Sponsored locally by Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, Store More Portable Buildings, Billboard Kia, Ellis Agency Insurance, Reliable Copy Products, and 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's time to kick off savings on the purchase of a new Kia from Billboard Kia. Take a test drive today and find out why everyone is talking about the award-winning Kia. Purchase a new 2021 Kia Rio and get $500 cash back. Or purchase a new 2021 Kia Forte and get $750 cash back. It's peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer, Billboard Kia, is not only the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty, they're the home of the best customer experience anywhere. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillboardKia.com. We make buying a car easy, and you'll enjoy the way we do business.
Cashback offer from KMA on the purchase of a new 2021 Kia Rio or 2021 Kia Forte for well-qualified buyers cannot be combined with the finance or lease offers from KMF. See dealer for complete program details. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Billboard Kia warranty. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 10/4/21.
Are you ready for the best pizza in Bay County? It's Paparazzi Gourmet Deli with over 100 years of recipes passed down through 4 generations. Paparazzi Gourmet specializes in New York and authentic Italian-American specialties from the deli, prepared foods, and of course, pizza. They even cater for all occasions. Click paparazzigourmetdeli.com to check out their daily specials. Come taste the difference at Paparazzi Gourmet Deli, Thomas Drive next to Goodwill on Panama City Beach. Call 850-588-8244 for fast pickup and DoorDash.
Home of the official 68-degree chill. None other than the official Vortex Spring. The hottest summer days can't stand up to the everyday, can't change it. Constant 68 degrees of gin clear water. Every single day at Vortex Spring in Ponce de Leon. Come for a day or come for a weekend. Camping, nature trails, diving, swimming, snorkeling, something for the whole family. Discount for first responders, active duty, and retired military. Online at vortexspring.com.
Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge. We are live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs, live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio. 850-215-6290 is the number to call. But we've got a great guest on with us. It's preseason hockey time. We're getting ready to go here. Looks like the Bolts are going to be trying to get us a three-peat. So let's welcome in Andrew Weiss, who's a hockey broadcaster as well as a content creator. Andrew, how are you doing on this beautiful Wednesday? Are you there, Andrew? Andrew? All right. Well, I'll try to give him a call back here real quickly. But while we're waiting on that, old school, up in the headline section, I've got a little quarterback power rankings if you want to start dipping into that just a little bit. I know number 1 is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Number 2 is sitting there at Patrick Mahomes. And some of the guys that have beaten Patrick Mahomes right now are actually behind Patrick Mahomes in the quarterback power rankings. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good list, Dave, that you put together. I mean, you got, everybody from a overall standpoint about how he throws the ball. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just has always been considered one of the greatest throwers of the football ever. And then comes along this young guy out of Texas Tech, Patrick Mahomes, and the way that he can do no-look passes and do all of the things that he's done, it's been incredibly impressive. And what he's achieved at such an early age in his career, it's fantastic. But then, you go Russell Wilson, he throws a beautiful golf ball. A beautiful
He throws a beautiful golf ball.
Yes,
that is the way to do it.
Somebody told me he could throw a football, too.
He can, and he threw a baseball. That's where I was trying to go to because he was a baseball player. Patrick Mahomes was a baseball player. And I think that helps them to throw a really pretty pass. I was a little surprised to see Tom Brady at number 4.
Let's take a little pause on that. We'll get right back to it. Now let's welcome in Andrew Weiss, hockey broadcaster and content creator. Andrew, how's it going?
Oh, just wonderful. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. We got to get our fix for these Bolts who are looking to three-peat this year, try to bring the Stanley Cup back to Tampa Bay. Man, here we go. So what are some of the changes to the roster that Bolts fans can look forward to ahead of the season?
Well, obviously, you win back-to-back Stanley Cups. Everyone's going for your head, right? You got Target on your back. And part of that isn't just on the ice. It's in the offseason, too. All of these great players that lead your team to back-to-back Stanley Cups. With the salary cap in place, you can only afford so many. So, unfortunately, Lightning fans had to say goodbye to guys like Yanni Gourde, Tyler Johnson, Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow. The list goes on of really important contributors on that third line and really all over that lineup for Tampa. But there's still things to look forward to, like you just mentioned. I'm a really big fan of the Corey Perry signing. I know he's a little bit up there in age. Same with Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. These are two guys that fans are going to love right away. You hate to play against them. You love when they play for you. That kind of player where, if you're watching them from the opposite side of the ice, right, we got to see them in Tampa. We got to see Corey Perry the last 2 years with the Stars 2 years ago in the Cup final and the Canadiens last year. Yeah, he was a pain in the butt, that's for sure. Now he's going to be kind of like a Pat Maroon. You hate to play against them. You love to have him. And that's something that Lightning fans can look forward to, having the lineup for the next 2 years. A guy like Corey Perry to rile up opponents, make some good plays, and be a difference maker in ways that aren't 50 goals a year.
It seems that in all sports, when you win a championship, the other teams come plucking. They come looking for some of your guys that are free agents or whatever. But in this case, would you agree that the expansion of a new team out in Seattle also exacerbated the plucking?
It definitely didn't help. With the expansion draft, there's two ways to look at it. One of them is a negative of you're going to lose a player no matter what. The other positive side of it is you only lose one player. So you knew that going into this summer, the Lightning were going to lose somebody. And more than likely, if Seattle was competent, which they showed a pretty good expansion draft, they were going to take someone that was important to this team's Stanley Cup success. That player, of course, being Yanni Gourde. That's a guy who embodied what the Lightning wanted to see from their prospects and players growing up. Someone who's not afraid to work, to grind, to get to the dirty areas of the ice and make the plays that, not everyone's willing to do. And that's something that Yanni Gourde does, and that's something that he will continue to do in Seattle. And it's unfortunate that the Lightning lost that. But like you just said, when you have a team that wins Stanley Cups, not only do other teams come calling for their name, but they're also willing to spend more money. And because of the salary cap, because the Lightning have so many talented players, an incredible amount of talented players. It makes no sense sometimes how crazy it is, how good this team was last year. They just couldn't afford to keep everybody. They couldn't keep the band together because the band was good enough for, 4 singers to go solo. That's
a great analogy. It really is.
That really is. That's a great way to put it. Oh, we got a question in from Wright State, Chris. He wants to know if it's weird for you being a fan of Corey Perry now that he isn't on the other teams.
It's a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be an adjustment. I mean, here's a guy that you go up against in the Stanley Cup final. If you're a hockey fan, especially if it's your team in the Cup final, your heart's pounding, your adrenaline's going, and any slight perceived notion against your team, you remember it. You get upset. You want to go out there and fight the guy yourself, which obviously, first and foremost, I am 5'9". There is zero chance I would ever fight Corey Perry because I prefer to not have my limbs broken. But even that said, you remember the little things. You remember him and Vasilevsky having a run-in last year when he was with the Canadiens. You remember the overtime winner he scored for the Stars 2 years ago. The good thing is it's better than if you had lost to him twice and then he joined your team. Yes, he was a little bit of an annoying pest against the Lightning the last 2 years, but the Lightning still won the Stanley Cup.
Right.
You can have the occasional off day, the sadness, whatever, of dealing with Corey Perry, getting upset, whatever. But when you still win the Cup, you're happy. You're fine with it. So, yeah, it's going to be an adjustment, but after the first 2 or 3 times he does something that makes you smile, makes you laugh, makes you enjoy having him on your team, I think you get over it pretty quick.
No doubt about it. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida here on the Afternoon Underdog Show. We've got Andrew Weiss with us, who's a hockey broadcaster himself and also a content creator. So you were at the Bolts prospect camp. Who are some of the top prospects headed into this season, Andrew?
Well, we already talked a little bit about that third line and just in general the players leaving Tampa. With that, obviously, it's sad to see them go. You saw them grow up, play with the Lightning, etc. Most of those players, not all of them, but most of those players are guys that came up through the system. They played for the Lightning as prospects. They grew up and became full-time contributors. That is now the cycle again, right? The cycle renews. It's the great salary cap cycle, I guess you can say. These players become too expensive. The new guys come in. The cycle continues. So with those guys leaving, there are opportunities for these younger players to come in. You mentioned some prospects, like which prospects would be good. Guys to keep an eye out for, Taylor Radish and Boris Tkachuk both played last year in Syracuse for the AHL team for the Lightning with the Crunch. Both had a pretty good year. Radish has very good offensive capability. He's working on his boots, working on getting skating faster, being a better skater. Lightning do a really good job of developing skating, so I'm excited to see what that does. Boris Tkachuk is a jack of all trades. The man, he can play a 200-foot game of hockey. He's good in his own zone. He's good on the attack. He's good in the face-off dot. I think right now out of those two, I think Tkachuk gets a little bit of a bump up with a chance to play fourth line, maybe get some center minutes, something like that. Two other names to keep an eye on, because those two were guys to keep an eye on all year last year. The two I'm most intrigued to see, first and foremost, is Alex Beret-Boulet. He played his way into the lineup last year. I believe it was 15 games, had some goals, spent some time even on the power play. They trust him to be an offensive dynamo when he can. Don't expect Braden Point. Don't expect Nikita Kucherov. These guys still have to grow and become better hockey players. But just like we saw last year with Ross Colton, a rookie comes in, can make a big impact. Guys like Beret-Boulet, guys like Radish and Tkachuk, they can make that impact. And the last guy that I wanted to mention is Cole Koepke. He played at Minnesota Duluth the last few years playing college hockey. Duluth won 2 national championships while he was there. He was a phenomenal player for Minnesota Duluth. I got to watch that as a big fan of college hockey. I went to Quinnipiac. Shout out my Bobcats. But Minnesota Duluth is one of the best programs in the country, and Koepke was one of their best players. He was a Lightning draft pick quite a few years ago, signed with the Bolts, now finally joining the organization. He could start off in the AHL, but here's a guy that I really think can make a difference this season if given the chance in the lineup.
That's some big stuff right there. And speaking of some other big stuff, Steven Stamkos, what is his future right now with the team? Do you think that he's going to end up taking a pay cut? And what line do we see Stammer on this year?
Well, with Stammer, there's obviously going to be, that C on his chest weighs something, right? Like last year, coming off of an injury, a little bit banged up going into the playoffs, didn't have the most ice time among forwards. The year before, only playing that legendary one period against the Dallas Stars with that goal he scored in Game 3 2 years ago. It's been a tough 2 years in terms of ice time for Stammer. Obviously, you win 2 Stanley Cups, it's happy times. But with Stamkos, here's a guy that people still underestimate, in my opinion, his ability. Now, he's been battling injuries, and I get that, and he doesn't have the same flash or speed as a Point or as a Kucherov, but he still produces. And a lot of people forget that he puts up points in crazy numbers. Since 2018, he's 14th in the NHL at even strength points per 60 minutes. So for every 60 minutes he plays, top 15 in the entire league in points that he puts up. People like to think he only works on the power play, doesn't do anything at 5-on-5. He still puts up really good point totals. Is he going to drive play like a Kucherov or Point? No. But that's a guy who still can put up an 80 or 90 point season if he can stay healthy. And his contract still runs until the summer of 2024. Once that comes around, then there's going to be conversation. Then there'll be, okay, is he going to keep playing? Is he going to retire because of all these injuries? Is he going to, take a pay cut and stay here? But for the people I've seen on the internet, it blows my mind, but I've seen that people saying, oh, they should trade Stamkos or they should, send him somewhere else, whatever it might be. First, he has a no-move clause. If he doesn't want to go anywhere, he's not going anywhere. They've asked him about it once 2 summers ago, according to a few stories I read about that from people with much better sources than I have, that's for sure. But I think people need to start putting some more respect on Steven Stamkos' name with some of these rumors I've seen. Oh, his ice time's down. Oh, he's not producing. The man is still an absolute legend in this area, and he's an absolute dynamo offensively. Still puts up points. Doesn't matter how, it matters how many. And he puts goals in the back of the net.
Hey, no doubt about it. Andrew, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. It was great to catch up with you. Great to talk about the Bolts. Look forward to October 12th when the Bolts take on the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Can't wait to have hockey back in Tampa. It's going to be great.
Yes, sir. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and we've got some big games coming up for you this weekend. College football, you ask? Auburn at LSU. I say to you, starts at 7 for the pregame, kickoff at 8 o'clock.
My forecast overnight, a small chance of a shower or thunderstorm, partly cloudy skies, light winds from the southwest, and the overnight temperature 63 to 69, water temperature in the Gulf 82. Well, Thursday and Friday we'll have isolated showers and thunderstorms. For the most part, it will stay dry Thursday and Friday, partly to mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s, and it looks like more of the same for the upcoming weekend, just spotty, isolated showers and thunderstorms. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Right now is your chance to win in the Grand Slam of Cash. Your code word is...
Success.
Enter the code word at ESPNPC.com or play on the ESPN Northwest Florida app. 2 ways to play this national contest.
$1,000 in cash. Oh, man.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby. The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey, cheesy, crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously. But as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
That time of year where the teams that aren't going to get to the playoffs start to look ahead. Seen the Cubs come out and say we're going to be very active in free agency, which leads us to the question, who do you think will be the most sought-after free agent? It certainly has to do with teams' needs, but...
Welcome back into the Afternoon Underdogs right here in the Slim Chicken studio. And it is time to tell you how you can listen right here to our radio station and win some cash. I'm talking about the Grand Slam of Cash. Your next chance to win $1,000 in cold hard cash is coming up at 8:45 in the morning, but we just got done showing you what the code word was going to be. We'll give out a new code word 8:45, 12:45, 4:45 p.m. every day. When you hear it, enter it on the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app, or you can go to ESPNPC.com and click on contest. The Grand Slam of Cash from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Got some great stuff. And tonight, Braves at Phillies, Game 2, old school. We've got Sam coming on in about 30 minutes, 5:15. He'll be in the studio with us, or be on the phone line with us. What'd you think of that game last night, the old school?
Well, it was just what I thought about was what a nice signing that AA did to bring Morton. And that's the reason why he brought him over there, because Charlie Morton has a reputation of being a big game pitcher. And there was not a bigger game that the Braves have played the entire season as last night. Got off to a rough start, 2 singles right off the bat, but he worked his way through it, got out of it without any runs being scored. The Braves managed to scratch a couple across, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be one of those games where 2 runs, they score a couple, we score. I thought it was going to be one of those kind of games. But instead, what it turned into was a pitching duel after that. And Charlie, he stayed right there with Wheeler. Wheeler was impressive. It was just a really good. It was a great baseball game, and a typical Will Smith cardiac situation there in the ninth inning. But 93-mile-an-hour fastball to get the third strike, and we celebrate.
Hey, well, this segment, Defend Your Stance, sponsored by Emerald Coast Damsel, independent damsel pro for damsel in defense. I pity the fool who doesn't use our tool. Here's the first question for today. Are the Chiefs in trouble, or should we as fans and analysts, if you will, slow our roll a little bit? What do you think, Randy?
I think they are absolutely in trouble watching them play. They're just not the Chiefs that we're used to watching play. So I think that you're in trouble.
I have mixed emotions on this, Dave. I'm not a big fan of these gigantic, humongous quarterback contracts. And when they signed him to that gigantic, ridiculous amount of money contract, I said, this is going to lead to issues because somebody has to go to be able to afford this guy. And everybody's like, no, this is a team-friendly contract. They're not going to have to do all that. But their offensive line is just not there. And they're struggling because of it. But it's a 17-game season. And they are talented. There's no doubt they are talented. If they can get a defense tightened up a little bit, get their offensive line issues solved, they're still going to be there at the end.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. For me, this answer is slow your roll.
Absolutely.
We're talking about Patrick Mahomes, and yeah, he did get the big money, but he hasn't slowed down since he got that big money. And the interceptions, the turnovers that we're seeing are not really a problem of Patrick Mahomes. It's drop passes or a tipped pass, and the defenders make a great play. I mean, you really got to give kudos to the Chargers, the game plan that they came in with, and even more so Justin Herbert and what he did. And also Lamar Jackson, back-to-back game winning weeks when it didn't really look like he was going to win, especially against the Chiefs, the way that first half kind of played out, and then he comes out in the second half and just lights the world on fire. And then the Lions, everybody's sitting there watching their TV sets like, what in the world is going on? The Ravens just got done beating the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, and then they come into Detroit and get their kneecaps bit. What's going on? And then 4th and 19, Lamar makes a play. We really got to slow our roll here. The Chiefs are going to be fine. Andy Reid will get healthy. I think that it could have been a big factor in that game. But that division is not just laying down and saying, all right, Chiefs, you're the king. They're getting better. Look at the Raiders so far to this point. Look at the Chargers, and even look at the Broncos. The Broncos haven't really played anybody, but still, they look stronger under Bridgewater. If the defense can stay healthy, I really like what we're seeing out of the Broncos in Colorado right now.
Totally. I think that division is so solid top to bottom. The Broncos have really made a step forward. I'm not sure that Teddy Bridgewater is the answer long term, but for right now, he's playing well. Certainly better than what was out there last year playing quarterback for him. But I just think that, it's so easy to get down on teams early on. And I remember, 20 years ago when the Jerry Jones had first bought the Cowboys, they went 1-15. They started out the next season, Jimmy Johnson, they lost the first couple, and then all of a sudden here they came. And I just think that, these guys are professionals. They are professional coaches, and they get better.
Are you ready for some football?
We're back.
Well, of course I am ready. I've been ready for some.
But, I think that what you want is a team to get better throughout the season. They don't have to be Super Bowl level right off the bat. And I think what we will see with this team, the Chiefs, is that they will continue to work on it, get better and better, and they're going to be there in the end. That's my opinion.
Bo Nix, TJ Finley. If you're Coach Harsin, who are you putting on the field, Bo Nix or TJ Finley? Let's start with you, old school.
Yeah.
I'm putting TJ Finley.
Any particular reason, or?
Well, I know that Bo Nix is the legacy player. His dad played for Auburn. He was highly touted coming out of high school. But I just think, it's not a small sample size anymore. And the fact that in big games, he shrinks. And I think that there comes a point for teams when there has to be a definitive line in the sand of saying it doesn't matter that your dad was a star at Auburn anymore. It's about it's a whole new coaching staff. It's a whole new attitude. It's a whole new thought process. It's a whole new system. And I think it would be good to take a young guy like Finley, who has expressed and shown that he can play at this level, and give him the shot.
What you think, Randy?
Well, here's what I would do. It's easy to be armchair quarterbacks, pun intended, but I'm going to put the guy on the field who does best at practice. I think that's where it's determined, is on the practice field. If Bo Nix can't get it done, then that's when you go to TJ Finley. And I think that in the long run, I think prior to Brian Harsin arriving at Auburn, Auburn would have continued on with Bo Nix and Bo Nix and Bo Nix. I think Brian Harsin is there to win some games and not win a popularity contest. I would go with TJ Finley.
So I guess we're going to unanimously vote for TJ Finley here. And I'm going for totally different reasons. I'm not going analytical. I'm not going what's happening on the college or on the practice field. I'm literally going selfish for a storyline. I love storylines. Where did TJ Finley play last year and not get he didn't get the job. So he goes to Auburn. He bides his time underneath Bo Nix, puts a spark into the offense in that Georgia State game where I don't think either one of them really outplayed the other. I think TJ Finley was he benefited from changing the momentum a little bit. But really, you got to give credit to the running backs, getting them out of the position that they were. And then let's not forget, I didn't bring this up with Brad yesterday, but that pass was incomplete. That pass was incomplete. So I'm going with Finley just on the case of a storyline.
Yeah.
And Randy, I think you made a good point about, which guy practices the best. The challenge for TJ Finley is that when you get into the regular season, that number one guy is getting the vast majority of the reps.
Right.
And it's hard for a young guy to that's the second string quarterback, for example. He's not going to get the same number of reps. So it's hard to compare which one is better in practice. That's where it comes down to a coach's gut.
Yeah.
It comes down to his gut of, what's the intangibles that I see in this guy?
But remember the old saying, and this really holds true in football. It is what wins games on Saturday is how well practice goes during the week. Because a good practice wins games. I've had coaches that would say, you know what, I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. We had some pretty bad practices this week. So that's when you're game planning leading up to the weekend for your games. And, if he and I'm sure that, he named Bo Nix the starting quarterback. But I'm sure he saw things at practice that he was like, And then so when he got into the game and they were struggling on offense, he said, you know what, TJ, go in. And I think that's kind of where he is now. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if TJ Finley didn't start on Saturday night.
And I think at that moment of time in the game where they're getting beat by Georgia State.
Yeah.
And he had no option. He had no choice but to make a change at that point and see if TJ Finley could create a spark. And he did.
Yep.
He did. And so now another gut reaction is going to have to be, was that a fluke or was that something that can carry forward to?
So do we make this statement that we used to make a long time ago, as back when you used to be a Falcon fan, is Joey Harrington will always be Joey Harrington. So is Bo Nix always going to be Bo Nix?
Yeah, that's a very good assignment.
I've felt that way since the beginning. He looked good in his debut against Oregon a couple years ago, but outside of that, Bo Nix is going to Bo Nix. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Hey, we got Auburn at LSU at 7, but early on in the day, Saturday, we've got Michigan at Wisconsin. Pre-game 10:30, kickoff at 11. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Coach James Hale Show. Weekday mornings from 7 till 9.
The man, the myth, the legend, Andy Burcham's with us this morning.
There are so many interesting men that have been in this business. It's fun to go back and listen. For Auburn, Jim was the voice of a generation.
Yeah.
He is with all those teams in the 80s, and Bo Jackson and Randy Campbell and all those guys. He's the voice.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Corum's Steak and Egg, home of the world-famous Heavenly Hash, has been family-owned and operated since 1986. Open daily 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Corum's Steak and Egg prides itself in offering fresh, never-frozen favorites at family-friendly prices. Come in and check out our daily lunch and dinner specials. Corum's Steak and Egg at 804 South Tyndall Parkway, where you never leave hungry. Also available on DoorDash and Grubhub.
Ben and Deb Collins, owners of Bay Guns and Gear, have been in business since 2010, offering new firearms and accessories with a huge selection available for your hunting needs and personal defense. Turn to Bay Guns and Gear. They have the weapon for you. Discount pricing. And if you can't find what you're looking for, they'll special order it for you. Bay Guns and Gear, across from Grease Pro at 3115 Highway 77. Visit their website, baygunsandgear.com.
As a proud graduate of Auburn University, Waylon Thompson is excited to sponsor Auburn football this season. Jay Manuel of Manuel & Thompson hopes that players and fans alike remain injury-free. But if you find yourself injured through no fault of your own, call us at Manuel & Thompson. Helping injured people, that's what they do. Manuel & Thompson, 850-785-5555. Manuel & Thompson, 850-785-5555.
Atlanta Braves play here. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX Lynn Haven, Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dr. Chad Mitchell, orthopedic surgeon specializing in sports medicine and joint replacement of the knee, shoulder, and hip. He serves our local athletes and our community. Southern Orthopedic Specialist has been the leader in orthopedic care for over 20 years. New patients are welcome. Call 850-769-KNEE to schedule an appointment. More about Dr. Mitchell and Southern Orthopedic Specialists is available on their website, southernorthopedic.com. Southern Orthopedic, getting you back in the game.
Welcome back in. It's time to beat the underdogs. Remember, James White is out for the season. That's going to be big for, hey, he was out last week, but it's going to be big for the remainder of the season, especially with having a rookie quarterback there in Mac Jones. Beat the underdogs yesterday, and we were beat.
We got
Jeff, you got us, man. 850-215-6290. We're opening it up for the rest of the show. We're going to have Sam Peebles on the line with us here in the next segment. But let's get into Beat the Underdogs today. You know, this is where we got to come together on who we think is going to win the games. And we got a football game tomorrow night, so we're stuck on baseball for tonight. But there's some exciting things happening in the world of baseball right now. And one of those is going to be the game tonight between the Rays and the Astros. This doesn't really have any implications for playoffs. Both of these teams are pretty much solidified as divisional winners. But it will be interesting to see this series play out. Last night, the Astros got the W. Can the Rays even up the series tonight? We'll see. But if these two teams end up playing each other in the playoffs, this will kind of be a cursor to watch how that's going to go. Rays or Astros, which way are we feeling in old school? If you got any words on this series, let's hear them.
I just think this is a foreshadowing for what we're going to see in the ALCS. These are the two best teams. The Yankees, if they get in, they're always dangerous. But I think these two teams are the quality. As they say, the cream rises to the top. And I think it's important that the Rays still play with the same intensity, and they take the Astros on it. And this needs to be a hard-fought series that the Rays win.
Jeff, give us a call, 850-215-6290. And if you want to play Beat the Underdogs, or Jeff, actually, you can even text. You could text. I just need your information right now. Because you won yesterday, so we got to give you a prize. But if you want to play Beat the Underdogs, here's what we've got going today. We're going to be picking the Rays and the Astros. We're going to pick the over and under on strikeouts for Alex Wood, who's pitching against the lowly Diamondbacks tonight. And then finally, we'll do an over-under for the Padres-Dodgers game, stuck at 8.5. So, Old School and Randy, I ask you guys, who are we picking tonight? Are we going to go with the Florida team here? Where do I live, as Old School likes to put it? Or are we going to go with the Houston Cheaters, the Astros, the Trastros? Which way do you guys want to go? Give me a call right now.
I guess after that, we don't really have a choice, do we?
Hey, here's the motto. Just enjoy the game. Give me a call, 850-215-6290. Don't miss out on your chance to win $25 to Barbaritos. All you got to do, pick some games, beat the underdogs.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Easy money. Let's go. Give me a holla.
Dave, I think my vote would be, I just really like the Rays. I like the way they play. I love their pitching staff. I'm going to go, and I hate the Astros, so I say the Rays all the way.
Well, see, I can't go with the trash. What do you call it? Trastros. So I have. Well, you got to go with Florida team too. The Rays are like, if we didn't cover the Braves, we'd cover the Rays because they're probably the second closest team to here. So yeah, that's who I'm going with.
All right, Rays it is. Then that is solidified. Let's move on to Alex Wood here. Is he going to strike out over or under 4.5 Diamondbacks tonight in his start? The Giants are making some good progress, some good moves there in the NL West this year. They, we always see them as a team of consistency, but they haven't slowed down at all this year. They're a great ball team, and Alex Wood has kind of been one of the anchors to that team this year, former Atlanta Brave at that. Over or under 4.5 Ks. Hey, let's get this phone line blinging. 850-215-6290.
Well, Alex Wood is, even when he was at Georgia, he was never a dominating power pitcher. He has a very quirky delivery, which kind of, I don't know. I can't imagine trying to hit off of that against that delivery. It's just so the ball comes out of the strangest places. But so 4.5 Ks against the Diamondbacks, I say over.
I'm in agreement with the over on this. I think he's going to get 6 to 7 tonight.
Yeah. If it was a team other than the Diamondbacks, because as we mentioned when the Braves were playing them, I mean, I never heard of some of these guys.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good. So I would recommend over.
Why only 4.5?
That's what the odds makers put it at.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
4.5? I can't agree with that.
So you're going over?
Yeah.
Over. All right. I like the sound of that. So we're stuck with Tampa Bay and over at this point. Now let's get to the Padres and Dodgers game. Over and under 8.5 runs in this game, and then we'll pick the score of the Rays and the Astros game. So over or under Padres Dodgers 8.5 runs. What do we like, Randy? Let's start with you.
I say under.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, you got two powerhouse offensive clubs. I just think the Dodgers can score like nobody else can in bunches. Padres, they've got some super talented young players, and Fernando Tatis, all these guys. So I think that that's a lot of runs.
It is.
But I still believe the Dodgers can, they can score. So I'm gonna say over.
All right.
But
yeah,
this could go either way. But I'm in this particular case at this time of the year, I'm gonna say over.
All right, so we'll go with the over in this game, over 8.5. All right, let's get to Travis, who's trying his chances again to beat the underdogs today. Travis, let's start off with the Rays and the Astros. Who do you like in this ball game?
Man, I don't like either team, honestly. I wouldn't vote for either dang one. Honestly, I'm going to have to say the Trastros just because that's where I proposed to my wife during a Braves game. So we'll go there.
Wow.
How cool is that, man? You're the man. All right, next up, we've got over under 4.5 strikeouts for Alex Wood, who's pitching against the Diamondbacks tonight.
Over 7.
Ooh, I like that. Over 7. And then finally, let's get to the Padres Dodgers. Over under 8.5 runs in this ballgame.
Over.
And then pick a score for for the Rays and the Astros. Just give me a score for the tiebreaker.
6-4.
6-4 Houston. All right. Hey, who's your football team, Travis?
49ers.
49ers.
Sweet.
So are you from out west?
No, sir. I grew up watching Joe and Jerry everybody up and fell in love, and yeah, I've been riding with them ever since. I was actually going to call and try to get your guys' opinion of us this year because I know our running back core is depleted. I know our secondary is depleted. At the start of the season, I had somewhat Super Bowl aspirations. Now I'm just wondering if we might finish 1-2 in our division.
Well, here's the thing, man. That division is so tough, and then with the addition of Matthew Stafford going over to the Rams, it made that division even tougher. But the 49ers are a tough ball team, and Trey Sermon is going to get his footing soon, and he's going to be a stud in the NFL. I really, truly believe that. Brandon Ayuk, he's another guy that once he solidifies that spot as number one for Garoppolo, and I love what they're doing with Trey Lance right now. I love how they're using him down in the red zone. I think they can do even more of that, and just kind of the way that Kyle Shanahan utilizes the motion. I love that. So, and to take the Green Bay Packers to the brink the way that they did, I mean, you talk about 5-10 more seconds that you drain off of the clock. That's a win for the 49ers. So I don't think that you've got much to worry about. Super Bowl aspirations is going to be tough. Any team out of the NFC, there's a lot of good teams in the NFC, but I don't think there's too much to worry about with the 49ers this year. They're a good team, but the injury bug that's already started to get into their running back room, that's the one thing that I'm the most worried about with them. But I'm excited for Elijah Mitchell to get back this week.
Yeah, absolutely. That is starting to get on our secondary as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say they need to call Aero Pest Control and get them out there and get rid of this injury bug, because for the last 2 years they've just been decimated with injuries, and they really can't afford to go again through a long impactful time of having to deal with these major injuries. They're a quality club. Kyle Shanahan is a good coach, even if he doesn't know when to run the ball all the time. But he's maybe one of the most creative play callers. I think he's going to be really good. He learned so much from his dad. Defensively is where I think they're going to have to make the biggest improvement. If they can get their defense straightened out, I think they do have a chance of getting to the Super Bowl.
Guys, I appreciate it because, man, like I said, the season started off great. Injury bugs come, and last year we were the most injured team in the NFL, and it was starting to get me worried again this year. I believe we have Seattle this week, which is going to be a tough. It's going to make or break us this week, I think. Or at least show us where we're at. Show us what we need to improve on. But I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time. Hopefully, after tonight, I'll be getting a phone call and be able to accept my victory dance.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for the call, Travis. Yeah, one thing about those 49ers, and when you look at it, when Jimmy G is starting for Kyle Shanahan at the 49ers, they're 28, I believe 28-9 now, 28-8 before the final of the Green Bay Packers game. When other quarterbacks were in, and you look at some of those other quarterback names, Bethard, I can't even remember them, you know what I mean? They were 7-27. All right, so when you got Jimmy G comfortable in the play calling that Kyle Shanahan puts forth, and then also with Trey Lance to be able to do what he does with them down at the goal line, especially in that red zone area, if they can get more of that into the game plan, it's not only is it going to make Trey Lance more comfortable, but it's going to make the team better as is. And losing Mostert hurts, but you look at those running backs and then some of the running backs that they have on their practice squad even. We haven't seen a lot out of Kerryon Johnson ever since he left Auburn. But who knows? It could just be a change of scenery type thing that can make it click for him.
No doubt. And I just love their offense. I think Kyle Shanahan's offense is phenomenal. I just want the toughness that comes from the offensive side to roll over to the defensive side, and defense wins championships.
There's not a doubt about it. Caveman Rick chimes in, and he says, the 49ers just need a new medical staff. So maybe that's what it is. Hey, Jeff, you beat the Underdogs yesterday. I need a call or a text from you, 850-215-6290. We're getting ready to get Sam Peoples on the line. So if you still want to play Beat the Underdogs, we'll open that back up at 5:30. Or you can go ahead and shoot me a text to that number, 850-215-6290. Give me your number, and I'll call you when we're ready for you. All right, so this is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Phillies and Braves tonight at 6:20. Coach James Hale live at you 7 o'clock in the morning.
My forecast overnight, a small chance of a shower or thunderstorm, partly cloudy skies, light winds from the southwest, and the overnight temperature 63 to 69, water temperature in the Gulf 82. Well, Thursday and Friday we'll have isolated showers and thunderstorms. For the most part, it will stay dry Thursday and Friday, partly to mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s, and it looks like more of the same for the upcoming weekend, just spotty, isolated showers and thunderstorms. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
From the shotgun, Nix takes the snap. Two-step drop, throws to the end zone. Robertson's got it! Touchdown, Auburn!
Tune in Saturday night as Auburn football opens SEC play in Baton Rouge with kickoff at 8 Central on your home for Auburn football.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hear that? That's the plumpest, juiciest hot dogs you've ever seen getting their grill on. But we both know what'll make it sound even better. Oh yeah, it's a Pepsi to go with your hot dog. Because when you're chomping on America's favorite meal, relish, mustard, and onions perfectly blending into a crescendo of flavor, there's only one thing that makes everything about that moment better. A cold, refreshing Pepsi. See what I mean? It's like music to my ears. Hot dogs. Better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Small business owners of Bay County, are you aware of the recent changes in the credit card industry that could affect how much you pay for credit card processing? With over 30 years experience right here in Bay County, Merchant Management Group is ready to help your business take advantage of these changes and in some cases eliminate all fees for accepting credit card. Other businesses have already made the change. Call Merchant Management Group today to schedule a no obligation appointment, 850-747-0664.
When you want a big-time sports show, tune in for the Afternoon Underdogs.
I'm going to send you up against the best.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio.
The need for speed.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Oh, you hear that? Doesn't that just get your heart beating right there? Woo! And that is not 0-4.
Hey, man, that was a shot right in the teeth.
That came directly from my buddy Derek Page. He's a big Florida State fan. We were watching the game over at his house this weekend, and he had this speaker sitting outside of the house where we were watching the game, and he started blaring this. And they were already losing pretty bad. Obviously, it was the second half, but it started to come back, and we were still out there. People were like, that's the Florida State fight song, and you guys are getting your tail beat. That's a real fan right there. And he was screaming,
right.
0-4. Hey, but now we're going to get to the Atlanta Braves. But before that, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your radio home for Auburn Tiger football. The Tigers, LSU, Death Valley, Saturday, 8 p.m. pregame starts at 7 right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. And Auburn football sponsored locally by Stormore Portable Solutions, Pineapple Willie's, Certified Gearhead and Motorsports, and The Best Way Portable Buildings. And also, is Sam Peebles, he's a big-time Braves fan.
No, not
lie.
Sam.
But he's also a big-time Auburn fan. Hey, Sam, welcome into the building. He is the creator and host of the Braves Dugout podcast, contributing writer for Tomahawk Take and Sports Talk ATL. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going, man, and we got a big series here versus the Phillies. We got it started right last night with a 2-1 win. How huge was Charlie Morton last night?
Oh, absolutely insane. I mean, I knew he'd do something special just because he's got a track record of excellence when it really matters, but I wasn't expecting that. Not in that high pressure against that offense. To be fair, the Phillies are missing their first baseman, their number 4 hitter, but I mean, it's still, at first I was getting nervous because it really looked like Phillies came right out of the bat getting 2 hits off of him right to start the game. I was like, oh man, they knew that this was a really important game and they spent extra time watching Charlie Morton in the film room. But then he overcame it. He had a little bit of shakiness later with 2 walks. But then after that, I mean, other than those 4 things, he looked excellent.
So tonight we got a big-time pitching matchup between Aaron Nola and Max Fried. Break that down a little bit for us, and who do you think has the upper hand tonight?
Well, I think last night was the most difficult test with Zach Wheeler because Max Fried and Aaron Nola have kind of been going in opposite directions in the month of September. Max Fried has been excellent. In September, he has a 1.59 earned run average with a 3.16 fielding independent pitching, which means, if you take the defense out of it, that might be over a long period of time. That's what his ERA would be. And hitters are only hitting 162 batting average, a 210 on-base percentage, and a 517 OPS, or on-base plus slugging. And just to put that in perspective, Ender Inciarte, who is notorious these past few years for the Braves for not being able to hit, has only had 1 season lower than 517 OPS. And that's what Max Fried is holding his opponents to hitting against him since the start of September. So he's trending way up. He pitched that Maddox a few starts ago. And then Aaron Nola is doing the complete opposite. In September, he has a 6.58 earned run average, and batters are hitting 260 batting average, on-base percentage of 294 with a 736 on-base plus slugging. So a full over 200 points higher than Max Fried. So I think Max Fried has a huge advantage here if they've been pitching like they have in September.
Well, Sam, when we've talked about this a lot, the moves that AA made right at the trade deadline, and as Braves fans, we were not, overwhelmed by them. They didn't go out and sign the big names, but having Duvall brought over from the Marlins and Soler coming over from KC, getting Jock Peterson and Rosario, those are some big-time moves. I know that Pederson didn't come at the trade deadline, but still, he came after Acuna went down with the injury. But these were big-time moves that AA made. Is there a GM out there that's made any kind of moves like this that has had such an impactful status on his club, other than AA?
I do not think so. Not at this trade deadline. I mean, you had the Mets go out and get the big name guys, and the Giants got Chris Bryant, and Chris Bryant has been huge for the Giants, but that was just one player filling one hole. The moves that Alex Anthopoulos made were absolutely insane and have been essential because not only did he get guys that have performed much better than they were performing already, not only did he get those guys and add them to the team, but he filled massive holes in the lineup. So, let's just do some simple math here. Let's use some simple math. Let's say the difference between -1 and 2 and +2 is 3. So if you take a guy with a wins above replacement of 2 and you're replacing a guy with a -1, you're really adding 3 to the squad. And analytics versus taking someone, that has a wins above replacement of 1 and replacing him with a 2, that's only an increase of 1. The level of player is still the same. 2 wins above replacement is still the same. But when you're filling a hole like Abraham Almonte, he's not even on a team anymore. Christian Boucher didn't work out. Ender Inciarte is no longer on a team anymore. He got picked up and cut. I mean, you filled guys. You took holes that were so massive that you got 2 guys that aren't even on baseball squads anymore. Another guy that's now a 5th outfielder is no longer getting as much playing time. Those were the three guys that were starting. So he took holes and not only replaced the holes with guys that are league average, but with guys that are performing like crazy. And another thing he did is he realized, hey, our team is only hitting left-handed pitching. And so he went and got a salary dump in Eddie Rosario. And I don't know if this will surprise you or not, but since Eddie Rosario has been playing, he's been hitting better than Soler.
Wow.
Soler's been solid, but if you look at an on-base plus slugging percentage, they've taken Rosario and really put him in places for him to succeed. And he's got a 133 OPS plus, which means 33% above league average, whereas Soler, who is awesome as he's been, is at a 119. So, I mean, yeah, I'm really, really impressed. And then on top of that, not only did he replace massive holes with guys that are performing extremely well, but he hardly gave up anything. The biggest thing he gave up at the trade deadline was Bryce Wilson, who didn't really have a spot on the squad anyways. I mean, I wish him the best, but, I mean, it's absolutely insane. This was one of the best trade deadlines I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, when you really look at the names that he gave up compared to the names that he got, that's absolutely asinine.
Well, Sam,
it really is.
I just wanted to let you know that I could not agree with you more, except for the phrase "easy math" or "simple."
Oh, simple math! Yeah, his head exploded.
My head was. I got lost after 1 minus 1 plus whatever. I was lost at that point. But statistically speaking, the bullpen is the bullpen. Do you think it's improved enough to be able to hang with the Dodgers or the Padres or the Giants? I mean, has there been enough improvement there that we can be excited about?
I do think the bullpen is much better than people are giving him credit for. If you look at the top 6 arms that the Braves have, they all have an ERA plus over 100, which means that if you look across that league average, the league average ERA plus is exactly 100. So if, let's say, your ERA plus is 105, you're 5% better than league average. All top 6 bullpen arms, all 6 of them are above league average when it comes to preventing runs. And Will Smith, as much as flack as we give him, which I get it, he walks people like crazy. He had 7 walks in September in only 11 games. But one thing he is actually good at is preventing runs. He's only given up 2 runs in the month of September, if you can believe it, and his ERA is only a 1.64. So he is good at preventing runs. I mean, he gives them up the 2 that he gave up. Yeah, they were bad, but he's pitching in a high leverage situation, so literally every run he gives up is going to be bad, and it's going to be easy to remember. Would I like to have a better closer? Yes. But another piece of breaking news that happened today was that the Brewers, who the Braves will be facing if they make it to the playoffs in the first round, lost the reigning Rookie of the Year, Devin Williams, to a broken hand today. So that, as much as I hate seeing injuries, the Braves definitely have an advantage over the Brewers now when it comes to the bullpen, because Devin Williams had over 50 innings pitched. The next guy in line has about 30 innings pitched. So they're very top heavy at the end of their bullpen, but their depth is not what the Braves have, and I think they have advantage over the Brewers. The Dodgers have been pretty bad in the bullpen as well. So as bad as our bullpen has looked to us, it's really hard to get tunnel vision and look at just the bad and not the good. And I do think that the Braves have one of the better bullpens going into the playoffs.
Now talking about that Brewers pitcher though, that was a little situation very similar to Huascar Ynoa's, right?
Yes, he punched a wall out of celebration rather than anger.
How often does that happen? You hit a movable force because you're happy.
Nah, that never happens.
Well, Sam,
I feel like there might be a little bit of a lie there. Not many people punch a wall out of celebration.
Yeah, I've never had a desire to do that. But Sam, I need your simple math again, because I need you to do something for us if you could, because we're almost out of time. But if you could just calculate up, if the Braves, I know we're at like 96% chance of winning the East at this point. If the Braves lose these next 2 games with the Phillies, what would their percentage of winning the East be at that point? And you can just text it in to Dave or whatever at that point.
Well, I would say that it would probably drop down to about 50% from the 90-something because they still would be leading the Phillies at that point. It would be more difficult because the pressure would be on them, and they'd pretty much have to, win the rest of their games and hope that the Phillies don't win all their games. But even if the Phillies win the next 2 games, if the Braves win the majority of their games after that, the Phillies will have to win out. So it's still very much in favor for the Braves to win the National League East since they won last night.
Who has the tougher series to finish the year out? Because they're playing each other right now with the Phillies and the Braves. But the Phillies have the Marlins and the Braves have the Mets. Whose situation is tougher there to close the season out?
I would say if you look at the overall record, you'd lean that the Marlins are an easier team to beat. But the Marlins have been playing better as of late, and the Mets have been playing terrible. They're the first team ever to be leading their division for 103 days and then end up with a losing record to finish out the season. The first team ever to do that. So they're kind of trending in the wrong way. They have kind of laid down and just given up.
Wow. Hey, Sam, thank you so much for your time. By the time we talk to you next week, it's going to be time for the playoffs, man. I'm so excited about it.
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
Hey, thanks, Sam. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, no doubt about it. So, Braves Dugout Podcast. That's where you can listen to Sam and get more of his takes. Coming up, we've got the 5 college football takeaways that I had from last week, as well as winners and losers from college football week 4. Big weekend of sports coming up. And tonight, right after the Afternoon Underdogs, Phillies Braves pregame when we get done at 6. First pitch, 6:20.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your chance to win cold hard cash. It's the Grand Slam of Cash.
$1,000 in cash. Wow.
2 ways to win this national contest. Listen weekdays at 8:45, 12:45, and 4:45 for a new code word. When you hear it, enter the code word at ESPNPC.com or use the new ESPN Northwest Florida app to play. The Grand Slam of Cash.
I'm Matt Glover with Aero Pest Service, and we are your family-owned and operated pest control company in Bay County since 1977. We can help you have a lawn that you can enjoy with your family. We can get rid of all the insects that destroy your parties. We can get rid of the weeds that give you anxiety, and we can fertilize your lawn and make sure that it's completely green and healthy, just the way you like it. Give us a call today at Aero Pest Service, 850-874-1900.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. Love letters, facial expressions, and gestures are all nonverbal ways humans communicate. But did you know your car's engine is a sign language expert? Yep.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likas Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Ancient civilizations communicated by smoke signals. Now you can use them to translate what your car's trying to say. Blue smoke indicates oil leakage, usually worn piston rings or valve seals. Black emissions say hydrocarbons or unburned gas from a too rich air-fuel mixture, stuck choke, or clogged air filter. And white exhaust could mean harmless vapor, like airplanes' contrails, or it could signal a blown head gasket. If all that sounds like Greek to you, seek the advice of the ultimate translator, your technician. I'm Bobby Likas. Like us, you'll love us.
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio. Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You trying to beat the underdogs? Give me a holler right now. 850-215-6290.
We got stuff to give away.
We got stuff to give away. We still got a trivia question on the board. 850-215-6290. Tell me which team was the first team in 2000 they did this, the first team to have 4 first-round picks in a single draft. Which team was that? 850-215-6290. We'll take your call, and you'll have the chance to win $25 to Paparazzi's Gourmet Deli, as well as $25 to not the, but that boot store. All right, we got some good stuff, but let's finish off with my college football takeaways while we're waiting on a call here. Go ahead and call, though. Interrupt me. I don't care at all. FSU might not win a game this year, and I'm not even joking. I mean, we can even look at that UMass game, and the way that they finished the Louisville game was great, but the way they played against Jacksonville State shows that they're very vulnerable. So that's my first takeaway from last week. Second, nix the competition. Start Finley. I think that's the answer, the way to go for right now. It might not be the answer for the rest of the season, but you might figure out, hey, maybe running a 2-quarterback system might be a little bit more beneficial. Raise your glass. Jamison Williams is the new guy at Alabama. 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns, as well as a 80-yard touchdown reception. That kid is electric, and he's faster than anybody else on a football field. It's like Jalen Waddle with the hands of Jerry Jeudy. This kid transferred from Ohio State, I believe. So, and we've got a multitude of guys on the team with the last name Williams, and they're doing things right now. Number 4, Uwe underwhelming. Clemson's offensive woes right now really stem to their quarterback right now. There was a lot of high praise, but it's just not panning out. What are you thinking so far about DJ Uiagalelei?
Well, I mean, I just think that he was overhyped, and it's a big step. I mean, you're going from, high school football where you're just physically bigger and stronger and better than everybody on the field, and then all of a sudden you step up and you're playing in big-time football, ACC football, it's a whole nother world. And I just think that it's overwhelmed him a little bit. And I think that the pressure to follow a legend there at Clemson and Lawrence, it's a tall task for him, and he has not been up to it up to this point.
And the last takeaway that I have, we just talked about the Clemson woes. Well, what about Arkansas Razorbacks are for real? Now we got Kyle Albritton on the line with us. Hey, what game are you trying to play today, Kyle?
I'm just trying to do beat the underdogs.
Yeah, beat the underdogs. That's what I like to hear. Cannot wait to get some more callers on that. So let's start off with the Rays and the Astros. I know that you're an Astros fan. Is that who you've got winning the game tonight?
Of course, the number 1 team in all of your hearts.
Cheaters.
The Houston Astros over under 4.5 strikeouts for Alex Wood tonight versus the Arizona Diamondbacks.
I will go over, but I will only give him 6.
I like that, though. That it's still over, and it's not a ton of strikeouts, but it's still a good outing. And you got to wonder, how long do the Giants leave them on the mound with their position kind of already solidified? Next up is going to be the over-under of the Padres and Dodgers, 8.5. 8.5 runs, over-under that.
I will go over.
Over on that. And then finally, your tiebreaker, which is Houston-Tampa Bay score. What do you got on that?
8-3.
8-3 Houston. That's going to be a good one. All right, can't wait to watch that game. Kyle, you got anything else for us?
Nothing but go Gators.
Go Gators, my man. Thank you so much for the call. Let's get somebody else on this line. The line is opened up. 850-215-6290. It's time for you to beat the underdogs. While we're getting to that, let's get to some winners and losers. College football, week 4. Old school, you put together a little bit of a list today. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I think the clubs that really advanced their cause forward for this past week was Arkansas. I mean, that was an impressive performance for them. A&M was, highly touted as a potential winner of the West, maybe even make the CFP, and Arkansas handled them. And I thought Florida was a big mover from the winning standpoint.
I agree with that.
So too.
Yeah, I thought, Florida really played well, and particularly
second half.
We're watching their quarterback grow up.
Yeah.
And he's learning to play the position, and we know how important that is for a college football team. And last but not least is my Texas Longhorns. They took one on the chin, big time, from Arkansas.
They did.
But they didn't lay down, and that's been their history for the last few years. Is they can't get over these losses, but they came back. They put a shellacking, just a shell Rice. Of course, they're playing Rice, but then to turn around and take on Texas Tech.
Now that was a beatdown.
Who had at that point was undefeated, and everybody was raving about their offense, and they went out there and just pummeled them. Just pummeled them. And this coming week is going to be a test for them taking on TCU. Even though TCU got embarrassed by SMU, I think this is, Texas in the last 9 years they've been 2 wins and 7 losses against TCU. But that was a big week for Texas last week.
I want to touch on SMU real quick. The Big 12 is trying to expand to a certain number of teams. SMU's got to be on the radar. Look at the last few seasons that they've had. They continually progress. They give trouble to the other teams in their conference. They give trouble to the teams that they're not really supposed to hang in ball games with. I really think that the Big 12 needs to look deep into bringing SMU into that conference. And not only that, you're basically losing all of your Texas teams. You'll still have Texas Tech, but bring someone in that can help propel the conference into this new conference wars that we're going to be having.
Yeah, the only challenge that that SMU is going to have is a facility situation because they used to play at Texas Stadium, and then they when everything went south for them so badly, and they got the death penalty. When they came back, they built a facility on campus there at SMU, but it only holds like 14,000 people.
Yeah,
so it's going to be hard for them to they're not going to be an exciting. From a facility standpoint, exciting addition to the Big 12. But I do think from a football style, Sonny Dykes has done a heck of a job as the head coach there. He's an offensive wizardry, and they're going to have to look at him. They are going to have to consider them.
And not a doubt about it. And touching on another winner for you, Texas, the quarterback change to go to Casey Thompson really benefited from that against Texas Tech to hang 70, to double your opponent's score when they scored 35. Absolutely impressive. 850-215-6290 is the number to call. Let's play Beat the Underdogs. We still got a trivia question on the board. Give us a holler. While we're waiting on that old school, let's get to the losers.
Yeah, as I called it, the shameful group. The big losers for the weekend were Texas A&M leads right off the bat.
Who let Jimbo in here?
This and not only Jimbo, but the fan base and the core and all of the Aggies and it just had to be crushing to them to go, to just get all the hype, all the praise, all the they're going to make it to the CFP, whatever,
going undefeated, 12th man.
No, it's an amazing football program. It's an amazing environment to play in, but
they were in Jerry's world, so it was neutral site.
Neutral site. They're trying to create a similar program or a similar type of thing that they have between Texas and OU, but it was just. Maybe the worst defeat that A&M has ever had. Not from a standpoint of embarrassing or anything, but just the fact that they were so highly thought of, and they were going to compete against Alabama for the West. They had a chance to be one of the 4 at the end of the season to get into the playoffs, and then to go to Arkansas, which is up until this year, the last couple of years, they were nobodies in the SEC. They were the bottom rungs. They were below Mississippi State.
Right.
And now they're on the rise, and for A&M to just lay an egg like they did there, that was a tough
I'm telling you, Arkansas used to be the Vandy. You look down the schedule and you thought Arkansas, that's a win. Vandy, that's a win. But no more with Arkansas.
And the next one for me is Clemson. This is Clemson. This is Dabo Swinney. This is a team that has played in the national championship, 3-4 out of the last 5 years. They are always there. They almost got beat by
Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And then they turned around and lose to North Carolina State.
I want to say something real quick about Georgia Tech. They're actually on my winner side of things just because of the way that they dispatched North Carolina. You know, all of the hype on North Carolina with Sam Howell and everything didn't work out in that first week against Virginia Tech. And then you see Georgia Tech keep into games against Clemson and then whoop the tar out of North Carolina. So they're in my winners, Georgia Tech is. But, yeah, North Carolina's absolutely in the loser bracket.
That was my next one is North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, this is tough for me because I'm a huge Mac Brown fan, what he did for me as a Texas fan.
But just think about what the expectations were preseason. I mean, they were ranked. I mean, they were – it was going to be North Carolina's year. And then – the bottom. I haven't been keeping up with them other than wins and losses. I mean, what do you guys see in the games? What is going on at North Carolina?
Well, everybody loved their quarterback, Sam Howell.
Right.
Everybody was projecting him to be maybe one of the quarterbacks that go early on and for the Heisman and all this stuff, and he's just not played well. He just hasn't played very good at all.
I wonder how much that has to do with the two running backs that just went to the league and are going to be good running backs at the league.
And it's hard to replace talent like that. Yeah. And when they've had probably two of the best running backs, certainly the best tandem of running backs in college football last year, and they just haven't been able to sustain anything this year. They have moments where they play really good,
right?
But for over the 40 minutes, to play in a football game, they're just not very good, and it's sad for a lot of Tar Heel fans that were really expecting something special this year, and so far it's the special, but it's not the good special.
Real quick, I'll get into my three, just the losers, not even the winners in this case. First off, the ACC playoff chances are my number one loser because they're pretty much out the window at this point.
Gone.
Number two, the Oklahoma offense. Spencer Rattler, like Sam Howell, was supposed to be, the guy, and it hasn't worked out. West Virginia's defense, very good. There's no doubt about that, but look at every single game they've been in, and it's just too close. Are they winning ball games? Yes. And then finally, last but not least, all of college football fans if Notre Dame beats Cincinnati, because that means that they're pretty much going to be walking into the college football playoff, and we're going to have to endure another one of those games where they just don't belong to be in there. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. This is the Afternoon Underdogs, and we've got a great way for you to win some cash. Find out about that when we get back.
My forecast overnight, a small chance of a shower or thunderstorm, partly cloudy skies, light winds from the southwest, and the overnight temperature 63 to 69, water temperature in the Gulf 82. Well, Thursday and Friday we'll have isolated showers and thunderstorms. For the most part, it will stay dry Thursday and Friday, partly to mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s, and it looks like more of the same for the upcoming weekend, just spotty, isolated showers and thunderstorms. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Only 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida could bring sports fans like you an app this powerful. The sports content you crave is always on. Live stream us everywhere you go. Now with upgraded programming and live game schedules, you'll always know when the Atlanta Braves and your favorite games are playing. Plus, interact with our local hosts in real time and so much more. The new app for the sports fanatic is available at the Apple Store and Google Play. From 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Offer Tire and Service Center on Tyndall Parkway in Callaway is your authorized Goodyear and Michelin dealer.
Looking for ways to save at the pump? Ask about Offer's fuel induction service that can improve gas mileage and engine performance, cleaning any buildup that forms inside your engine parts at Offer Tire and Service Center. Their latest technology to clean up the entire system, not just the gas tank.
Offer Tire and Service Center on Tyndall Parkway in Callaway. Locally owned for the past 35 years and worth the drive from anywhere.
As a proud graduate of Auburn University, Waylon Thompson is excited to sponsor Auburn football this season. Jay Manuel of Manuel & Thompson hopes that players and fans alike remain injury-free. But if you find yourself injured through no fault of your own, call us at Manuel & Thompson. Helping injured people, that's what they do. Manuel & Thompson, 850-785-5555. Manuel & Thompson, 850-785-5555.
Certified Gearhead Motorsports on Panama City Beach, directly across from Pete Edwards Field. Certified Gearhead Motorsports offers full synthetic oil changes for just $30 plus tax. Diesel synthetic oil changes only $85 plus tax. Certified Gearhead Motorsports. They do it all, from oil changes to engine overhauls. Call now for an appointment, 850-532-8783. Let them work up an estimate or quote of the repairs that you need. Call now, 850-532-8783.
Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. Text or call into the Slim Chicken Studio, 850-215-6290.
Always be sure to listen for the dial tone.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
All right, welcome back. And we only got about 7 minutes and 20 seconds, a little less than that. So let's go ahead and get straight to it. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The phone number here is 850-215-6290. Right State Chris, you want to play Beat the Underdogs? Let's get to it. Starting with Houston and Tampa Bay. Who do you like tonight?
Let's go Tampa.
I like it, man. Stick with the Florida team. Over under 4.5 strikeouts for our guy, Alex Wood.
Who's he going against?
Diamondbacks.
Yeah, over.
Over. Easy money. Finally, over under for the Dodgers and the Padres, which is set at 8.5.
Who's starting for the Dodgers?
I don't have that right in front of me. Give me 1 second, and I'll pull it up. And tonight we got Ryan Weathers versus Max Scherzer tonight.
Oh, God. Well, let's go under. I think Scherzer probably throw a CG show on that.
That's a good pick right there. And then final score for the Astros and the Rays.
Rays. Let's go 5-2 Rays.
5-2 Tampa Bay. Hey, Right State Chris, thank you so much for the call, man.
All right. Talk to you all tomorrow.
No doubt. I know Caveman Rick was wanting to play a little trivia. All you got to do is give me a call, Caveman, whenever you're ready. But while we're waiting on that, Old School's got an incredible story. If you guys want to win some money, you got to listen to the station. You got to get the app. Another way, probably follow this guy's advice.
So we were all, talking last week about the guy that had a parlay for the Detroit Lions.
Right.
So, and he ended up not winning.
Right.
Well, there was another guy, a new guy.
Okay.
Who put a parlay on the singles matches of the Ryder Cup. So he had to pick every winner of every singles match throughout the entire Sunday. 12 matches.
Wow. Right.
And he picked every one of them correctly.
Holy cannoli.
He put $10 on the bet and walked away with 966,000 big ones.
That is about this far from $1 million.
That's as close to $1 million as you could want. A $10 bet wins him 966,000 and some change.
That is crazy.
And then the very next phone call that he got was from the IRS.
And they said, "Hey, bud, listen, we'd like to get our cut.
Let's have a conversation, boys, about this little."
Now,
victory
wait a minute. I don't think winnings.
Oh yeah, they're taxable.
Yeah, you're right. They are.
Yeah,
they're taxable.
Not too many ways you can get away from Uncle Sam trying to get that money.
When I talked to a friend of mine who was an attorney, but if it's like you have a car wreck and it's a lawsuit, you don't have to pay taxes.
Right.
On it.
Oh, yep.
But gambling wins, taxable.
So he ended up with about, $550,000 after it was all said.
I'm sure they took about half of it.
Isn't that insane? Don't get me started on that. That's not sports. Grand Slam of Cash. Your next chance to win $1,000 in cold hard cash is coming up at 8:45 tomorrow morning. We're going to be giving you a new code word. When you hear it, you take that word, you get on the app, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, or you go to ESPNPC.com, but I'd rather you get the app. Click on the contest, the Grand Slam of Cash from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Let's help somebody else win some cash. Caveman Rick, you're on the line. In 2000, one particular team got 4 first-round draft picks in the first round. Who was it?
New York Jets.
You're absolutely right, my man. That is going to be $25.
That's the first thing that Caveman Rick has won in a while because the Phillies are getting beat. The Eagles got beat. I'm just so glad to see Caveman Rick win.
I win every day.
Have you seen his wife?
Yeah, he.
But hey, back to what you guys were saying real quick about that bet. for $10 to turn into almost $1 million or maybe $500,000 after taxes, that's like alchemy right there.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, who would have sat down and looked at that lineup and said, Scotty Scheffler, who? Scotty Scheffler is going to beat the number one player in the world, Jon Rahm, who had defeated. He was the only guy from the Europeans at that point that had won points, and he was dominating.
But isn't that essentially just winning 12 coin flips in a row consecutively is what he basically did?
Pretty much so.
That's a good way to put it.
Like that's, a good way of putting it. So if you can do that, or, or that other guy that had that 16-team parlay the other day or like last weekend,
that
almost turned that, small chunk of change into like, like $400,000 or $500,000. I mean, you can do it if you're just willing to throw down that small little bit of money and, make the picks.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best investment that guy will ever make. $10.
That's probably a lot safer, well, not safer maybe, but a lot of easier way of somebody to figure out their retirement. If you think about the kind of money that you can put into your retirement savings and you try that many times with that amount of money, you would think you got to hit that at least once.
Well, I remember when Shaq spent $250,000 on lottery tickets.
How'd he do?
And he never won.
Yeah, but this is Shaq, and this is the same guy that can't hit a free throw.
That's right. But I mean, think about that. The guy
He can make a good pizza though with Papa John's.
Yes, he can. But the Shaq-alicious. Shaq-a-roni. But I mean, just think about it.
The stuff that you can get for free, a free throw, he can't even get that for free. He doesn't deserve the other.
Yeah, but the guy's making $7 or $8 million a year, and he's throwing down $250,000 on lottery tickets.
They never called it a free point though. It's just a free throw.
He doesn't deserve the money. He's got the money, so like I would rather go to somebody that can use it more than Shaq.
Absolutely.
Hey, no doubt. Hey, Caveman Rick, we're running out of time here. Thank you so much for the call, and we'll mark you down for your winnings.
All right, bye.
Awesome, my man.
There you go, Caveman Rick.
There's a winner.
Yeah,
There's a winner.
Hadn't heard from him in a while, but hey, good for him.
Not a doubt about it. Hey, we got a big game coming up about 3 minutes away from the pregame of the Braves and the Phillies. 6:20, we're going to get you to the first pitch. Sunday Night Football, one of the biggest regular season games that's ever been a part of the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
The Bucks and the Patriots right here on our air, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And stay tuned because we're about to give you a promo for the Grand Slam of Cash and how you can win.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your chance to win Cold Hard Cash. It's the Grand